My friend, let me pose a question that might unsettle you to your very core. What are you clutching so tightly that God no longer has space to move in your life? What have you held with such strained fingers that your own grip has become the chains binding your soul? We live in a world obsessed with control. Control over money, control over relationships, control over health, over time, over results, even over the future itself. But today I stand to proclaim a truth that can ignite your spirit. The instant you release control is the instant you create room for God to act. So many of us cry out, "God, where are you?" Yet deep down we refuse to let go of the wheel. We plead for peace but cling to our worry. We ask for guidance but resist the whisper telling us to release. We desire miracles, but only if they unfold our way. We long for breakthroughs without being broken. We want to witness God's mighty hand, but only if it moves in the direction we choose. Hear me. God does not move in response to control. He moves in response to surrender. The most powerful move you can make today is not in doing more, fixing more, or fighting harder. It is in unclenching your fists and saying, "God, I release it to you." Let go of the battle you've been trying to win alone. Let go of the fear that's been whispering lies to your heart. Let go of the burden you've carried for far too long. Let go of the illusion that you are in control. Because the truth is, you're not. You never were. And that's not weakness, that's wisdom, that is power, that is faith. Some of you are trying to control how people treat you. You're trying to fix broken relationships to make people love you who were never meant to stay. And every time you try harder, it slips further away. Every time you manipulate outcomes, peace disappears. You can cry, beg, plead, explain, but if God has closed that door, no amount of control will open it again. God does not work through desperation, He works through trust. You're not responsible for how others receive you. You are responsible for how you respond to God. Control is the language of fear, but surrender is the language of faith. And faith is the only language heaven listens to. When you are trying to control everything, you are essentially saying to God, "I don't trust you." But when you release it, when you lay it down, you are shouting to the heavens, "I believe you even when I don't understand you. I trust you even when I can't trace you. I submit to you even when it hurt." That is the heart that moves God. I know what you're thinking, but what if everything falls apart? Let me tell you, sometimes things have to fall apart so God can put them back together the right way. Sometimes letting go of what you think is best is the only way God can give you what is truly right. You may lose what you wanted, but you will gain what you needed. God never asks you to let go unless He has something greater to replace it with. But He won't force it into your hands. You have to release what you're holding first. Too many are trying to fight battles God never asked them to fight. You're worn out, burnt out, and spiritually dried out. You think you're being responsible, but really you're carrying weight you were never meant to bear. You confused worry for wisdom, fear for foresight, and control for protection. But the Spirit of God is calling you right now. Let go. Trust the one who holds the stars in place. Trust the one who never sleeps nor slumbers. Trust the one who formed you in your mother's womb and has counted every tear you've cried in secret. The reason some of you are not seeing the movement of God is not because He's not working, but because your grip is too tight. You've locked Him out by locking yourself in. The miracle is not delayed. It's waiting for your surrender. The answer is not far. It's on the other side of your release. You've been asking, why won't God fix this? But maybe the real question is, why won't I let Him? He is not a God who works according to your calendar. He is not bound by your deadlines. He doesn't rush just because you panic. He moves according to divine timing, not emotional urgency. And oh, when God moves, when He finally moves, it is not subtle. It is not weak. It is not partial. When God moves, mountains tremble. When God moves, storms are silenced. When God moves, doors swing wide open that no man can shut. But He does not move at the voice of control. He moves at the sound of surrender. Your breakthrough isn't blocked by the devil. It's often blocked by your pride. Let go, child of God. Let go. Not because you've lost, but because that's the only way to truly win. Don't confuse surrender with failure. Surrender is not giving up. It's giving over. It's saying, God, I don't want to be in charge anymore. I'm not capable of carrying this burden, guiding this ship, or fixing this mess, but You are. That's not weakness, that's worship. That's not quitting, that's spiritual wisdom. That's not defeat, that's the beginning of divine direction. It is in the emptying of self that we become filled with power. God moves in the spaces we surrender. He enters the room we vacate. He heals the wounds we stop hiding. But if you're still trying to make everything perfect in your own power, you'll miss the glory of what God can do with a mess fully placed in His hands. It's not about how strong your grip is. It's about how deep your trust is. You don't need to know how it will all unfold. You just need to know the one who holds it all. I speak to the one who's tired. You've tried everything. You've begged, fought, sacrificed, and still see no change. And now fear creeps in like a shadow, telling you that if you don't keep it all together, everything will collapse. But let me tell you, sometimes collapse is grace in disguise. Sometimes God allows things to fall apart so you'll stop building idols and start building trust. He doesn't want your strategy. He wants your surrender. This world teaches you to seize control, to hustle, to grasp, to plan every detail. But the kingdom of God operates differently. In God's kingdom, the most powerful thing you can do is fall to your knees. Not because you're broken, but because you know where your strength truly comes from. God does not need your control. He desires your heart. That is where His movement begins. You cannot be the architect of your own peace. You cannot be the captain of your own destiny. God is the beginning and the end. He writes the story. And the chapters you're trying to rewrite with fear are already written with purpose. Every delay has meaning. Every no is a setup for a greater yes. Every closed door is a redirection, not a rejection. But you'll only see this when you stop striving and start trusting. Faith is not just believing God can, it's surrendering even if He doesn't. It's praising Him even when you don't understand. It's saying, I trust You even in silence. I trust You even in the waiting. I trust You when everything in me wants to fix it myself. And that is when the heavens respond. That is when the atmosphere shifts. That is when God begins to move in ways you couldn't even imagine. Letting go doesn't mean life will instantly make sense. It means you stop needing it to. It means you trade anxiety for assurance, striving for stillness, panic for peace. It means you stop asking what if and start saying even if it doesn't look the way I planned, even if the door remains shut, even if I never understand, I will still trust that God is working. I will still believe that His ways are higher. You are not abandoned. You are not forgotten. You are not overlooked. But God cannot bless the version of you that clings to control. He blesses the one who says, here I am. Take it all. He blesses the one who kneels in tears and says, I don't know what tomorrow holds, but I know who holds tomorrow. That is the faith that moves mountains. That is the spirit that unleashes miracles. And I ask you, What would your life look like if you truly let go? What burdens would lift? What miracles would rush in? What peace would fill your soul if right now you simply opened your hands and said, God, I release it all. That's not the end of the fight. It's the beginning of your freedom. God is not waiting for you to figure it all out. He's waiting for you to let go. And when you do, when you truly do, you will see Him move like never before. Not because you earned it, not because you control the outcome, but because you finally made room for His glory to show up. His movement begins where your control ends. You don't have to carry it all. You don't have to solve it all. You don't have to be the hero of your story. Let go. Let go and watch what God will do. Let go and witness the heavens open. Let go and feel the chains break. Let go and hear the still small voice that's been drowned out by your own plans. Because when you do, something holy happens. Something divine takes place. God steps in. And now I say to you with the authority of truth and the weight of heaven, if you want to see transformation, if you truly desire divine intervention, then release the reins of your life and hand them fully to God. Stop walking through firestorms trying to control the wind. Stop clenching your heart trying to manipulate outcomes. When will you realize that your strength is not in holding everything together, but in surrendering to the one who holds it? You may think letting go means things will fall apart, but listen carefully. Sometimes things have to fall apart before they can fall into place. Some of you are praying for restoration, but God is still waiting for submission. You're pleading for breakthroughs, but still clinging to your way, your vision, your version of the outcome. You see, God will never compete with your control. He will wait until your heart is fully yielded, and then, only then, He will pour out what no plan of man could ever produce. Let go of your need to understand everything before you trust anything. This is where most stumble. They want signs before surrender. They want guarantees before obedience. But God doesn't work that way. He calls you into the deep while the shore is still visible behind you. He whispers, "Step out," before there's even a road beneath your feet. Why? Because faith is not faith if it comes with certainty. Faith is proven in the unknown. It is demonstrated in the moment you say, "God, I do not see the way, but I know you are the way." Let me speak directly to the one whose nights are sleepless, whose mind is tormented by what-ifs and may. You are mentally exhausted from trying to anticipate every outcome, fix every problem before it arises, control every variable. That is not wisdom, that is torment. It is a prison disguised as responsibility. It is a subtle lie from the enemy that says, if you just try harder, maybe everything will stay safe. But there is no safety outside of surrender. There is no peace in prediction, only in the providence of God. You must understand the foundation of real power is not found in controlling people, money, or situations. It is found in being anchored so deeply in God that the winds of life no longer shake you. And the only way to be anchored is to let go of everything else that competes for that place. Pride cannot anchor you. Plants cannot anchor you. People cannot anchor you. God alone must be your anchor. And to take hold of Him fully, you must loosen your grip on everything else. Don't just release the outcome, release the timeline. God is not slow. God is not late. He is exact. He is precise. The delay you see is not divine negligence. It is divine perfection. There is something He is shaping in the delay, something He is growing in your waiting. The fire you are in is not meant to destroy you. It's meant to purify your trust. Every second of waiting is heaven's invitation to go deeper in faith. But you can't walk deeper if you're still tied to the surface of your own expectations. You want God to move? Then move out of His way. Some of you have been praying for God's will, but all the while demanding your own way. You've been standing at the altar of prayer while secretly bowing to the idol of control. But those two cannot exist in the same heart. You must choose. Either you trust God's plan, or you insist on your own. And let me assure you, only one of those leads to peace. Only one of those unlocks the power of the unseen hand of God. Your control is not protecting you. It's limiting you. It's closing the windows heaven wants to open. It's caging the wind that God wants to blow across your life. You think your grip is keeping things from falling apart, but it's really keeping them from falling into place. Sometimes the best thing you can do for your life, your family, your future, is to stop holding it hostage to your fear. God can do more in a moment of surrender than you can do in a lifetime of striving. Now listen, this is not a call to laziness. This is not about folding your hands and refusing to act. No, surrender is not inactivity, it is divine alignment. When you surrender, you don't stop moving. You move with God. You move when He leads. You speak when He gives the words. You act when He opens the door. That is where the power lies, not in forcing outcomes, but in flowing with divine timing. That is how you rise above human limits, by aligning your steps with the one who has no limits. Many are afraid to let go because they don't want to lose control. But my friend, that control you're afraid to lose was never yours to begin with. You didn't control the day you were born, and you won't control the moment you leave this world. And everything in between is held by God. The sooner you understand that, the sooner your heart will know rest. The kind of rest that no success can give and no failure can steal. Some of you are still waiting for everything to be safe before you surrender. But safety is not the absence of storms. It is the presence of God in the midst of them. Do not wait for the storm to pass before you surrender. Surrender in the storm. That is where your soul learns to stand, not on the ground of human understanding, but on the rock of divine promise. I speak to those building their futures like towers of glass, carefully, nervously, trying to stack every piece just right, and yet one gust of life's wind brings it all crashing down. That's not how God wants you to live. That's not what He designed you for. He didn't form you from dust just to live in fear of falling. He formed you to walk in faith. And faith doesn't build with glass, it builds with stone. It lays a foundation in the eternal, not the fragile. And that kind of foundation only comes from surrender. Let go of the fear that if you stop controlling, everything will crumble. It is not your hands that hold your life together, it is God's. And He does not fumble, He does not forget, He does not fail. He is not limited by your past, your present, or your perceived problems. What you see as impossible is merely a breath to God. But He waits not for your help, but for your humility. Don't just let go of situations, let go of how you think they should turn out. That is where the deepest surrender happens, when you say, God, even if you take me a different way, I will go. Even if you lead me through fire, I will follow. Even if I never understand, I will still trust you. That is the language of the surrender. That is the heart that attracts miracles. And I declare to you today, the moment you stop chasing control, you will start experiencing peace. A peace that is not logical. A peace that does not come from things going your way, but from knowing God is in the way, clearing it, shaping it, and guiding it for your good. That peace is available now, not tomorrow. Not when everything makes sense, but right now. And all it takes is this. Lay it down, speak it out. Declare with your whole heart, God, I let go, you lead. If you do this not just with your mouth, but with your heart, you will see a shift. You will feel it in your soul. The anxiety will lift. The tension will ease. Not because life suddenly got easy, but because you're no longer carrying it alone. You will find strength in your weakness, clarity in your chaos, calm in the middle of your storm. Because when you let go, God moves. He moves in quiet whispers that steady your heart. He moves in divine interruptions that protect you from unseen harm. He moves in silence and He moves in fire. He moves when you least expect it and in ways you could never imagine. But He does not move while you're still trying to play God. That space belongs to Him alone. So make a choice right here, right now. Choose to stop resisting. Choose to stop explaining. Choose to stop doubting. Choose to stop being your own God. Choose surrender. And when you do, you will not just feel God. You will see God. You will see Him in the small things. You will see Him in the delays that became deliverance. You will see Him in the silence that protected your spirit. You will see Him because you finally gave Him room to be seen. Let go. Let go not just with your hands, but with your soul. Trust the one who wrote your story before you ever took your first breath. Trust the one who parts seas, who calms winds, who lifts valleys, who exalts the humble. Trust the one who doesn't need your control to accomplish His will. He needs your surrender. And if you give Him that, if you truly give Him that, you will not only watch God move, you will move with Him into places your control could never have taken you. And I say this now with the full weight of conviction in my heart. True freedom does not begin when everything is under your control. True freedom begins the moment you place everything under God's authority. That's when the chains fall off. That's when the heart starts to breathe again. You were not created to be the master of your own destiny. You were created to walk in step with the Almighty, the one who knows the end from the beginning. And the path of control is the silent enemy of faith. It doesn't scream, it whispers. It disguises itself as wisdom, as caution, as logic. It makes you believe that your plans are safer than God's. But let me tell you, there is no safety outside of God's will. There is no protection in your own understanding. Your wisdom is limited, but God's knowledge is limitless. Your insight is clouded, but God's vision is perfect. What you call control is often a mask for mistrust, and mistrust is not harmless. It's a barrier that blocks the miraculous. You're not failing because life is hard. You're failing because you're fighting God's hands. You're resisting the very hands that formed you, the hands that can build what you're trying to build faster, better, and stronger. But He will not wrestle you for control. He will wait for you to yield. And in that yielding, a new kind of strength is born, the kind that no storm can shake and no devil can undo. But strength doesn't come from controlling the outcome. It comes from trusting the one who controls everything. Stop praying for peace while holding on to the chaos. You cannot carry both. Let go of the burden you were never designed to carry. Some of you are tired because you're playing God in situations where only God has the power to fix, heal, restore, or redeem. And you wonder why the weight keeps getting heavier. It's because God is letting you feel the burden of trying to play a role that was never yours. Not to punish you, but to awaken you, to call you back into position, not as the controller of outcomes, but as the vessel of faith. Let go of your need for immediate answers. Some of you are paralyzed by questions. You won't move until you know everything, see everything, understand everything. But God never promised clarity. He promised presence. He never said you'd always know the why. He said trust in the midst of the unknown. And that trust, that deep and raw reliance on Him, is what releases the divine flow of His power into your life. You don't need more information, you need more submission. That's where the breakthrough comes. I speak to those who feel like they're in a wilderness. Nothing around you makes sense. Every direction feels blocked. You're crying out for guidance, yet all you hear is silence. But the silence of God does not mean the absence of God. Sometimes the silence is the stillness before the shift. And that shift often requires a sacrifice. The sacrifice of control, the surrender of your plan so that God's plan can unfold. Don't despise the silence. Don't fear the wilderness. Let go and let God speak in ways you've never heard before. Do you know what trust looks like in its purest form? It looks like peace when nothing around you gives you reason to be calm. It looks like standing still while everyone else is running in panic. It looks like choosing to be planted instead of pulled. And that only comes when you've released control. When your heart stops wrestling and starts resting in the knowledge that God is sovereign, completely, eternally, unfailingly sovereign. Many believe they're living by faith, but in truth, they're moving under fear with a spiritual disguise. They've dressed up anxiety and called it diligence. They've mistaken panic for passion. Yet God is not searching for restless effort. He desires steady surrender. He isn't asking you to do more. He's calling you to trust deeper, to release not only with your hands, but with your heart, to stop clinging to what you cannot mend and start clinging to the assurance that God will never fail you. Release your grip on timing. God's plan carries its own divine cadence. Your schedule is not the master design. You are not late. You are not behind. You are not overlooked. You are being made ready. And readiness comes through pruning. Pruning always demands surrender. If God is removing something, release it. If He calls you to wait, embrace the process. If He shifts your direction, it's because He sees beyond what you can grasp. And what He sees is always for your good, even when it feels like loss. Some of you are holding on to wounds, past betrayals, past failures, past regrets, and you convinced yourself that control is the only way to protect yourself from being hurt again. But in doing so, you've built walls that not only keep pain out, they keep God out too. You've armored your heart, but in the process, you've silenced the healing. Let go of the past. Let go of the narrative that says, I must protect myself. No, you must be protected by God. Only He can guard your heart without hardening it. Only He can heal the wound without scarring your spirit. Letting go is not passive. It's the most courageous act of obedience you will ever commit to. It is bold, it is fierce, it is loud in the spiritual realm. When you let go of what you thought you needed, heaven leans in. When you release your plan, angels move into motion. When you say, God, I'm done trying to be in control, you are not defeated. You are being elevated. What's waiting on the other side of your surrender is greater than anything your control could have built. There's peace waiting for you. There's clarity waiting for you. There's strength, power, and divine favor waiting for you. But it's not coming through your planning. It's coming through your posture. And the posture that invites the greatest power is the posture of open hands and bowed hearts. Let go. Not just because you're tired of fighting. Let go because there is a better way. God's way is not predictable, but it is perfect. It is not always painless, but it is always purposeful. And every time you release something from your hand, He replaces it with something your heart truly needs. What you thought was a loss becomes a gift. What you thought was an end becomes a beginning. But you will never know this unless you step out of control and into faith. This is the moment, not tomorrow, not next year, right now. There is power in the present when it is placed in the hands of God. Don't wait for your situation to change to trust Him. Trust Him and watch your situation change. Not always in the way you expect, but always in the way that glorifies His greatness and perfect wisdom. God doesn't want your performance. He wants your permission to move. And He is standing ready to act, to shift, to pour out, if you would only let go. And I tell you now, there comes a point in your spiritual journey when holding on becomes more dangerous than letting go. When trying to fix, force, or control becomes a burden too heavy for your soul. You weren't created to be your own provider, your own protector, your own savior. That role belongs to God alone. He who fashioned you in secret knows what you need more than you know what to ask. But you cannot receive from a hand that remains closed. You cannot be filled while still grasping at empty solutions. There's a reason the blessings haven't flowed yet. There's a reason peace has not settled in your spirit. Because control has become the idol of your heart. It's sitting on the throne where only God belongs. And idols never deliver what they promise. They deceive, they drain, they destroy. But the moment you dethrone control and exalt God, that's the moment things begin to shift. That's when prayers start moving mountains and peace flows like a river through the storm. You must decide today, will you continue building with bricks made of fear, or will you build with faith anchored in God? Faith does not need every detail spelled out. Faith does not need a forecast. Faith says, even if the way is dark, I know God is guiding me. That kind of faith cannot grow in a heart addicted to control. You must break that addiction. You must detox your soul from the illusion that you're holding everything together. The truth is, God is the one sustaining your breath, your heartbeat, your tomorrow. And when you truly understand that, the fear begins to lose its power. God is not waiting for you to impress Him with your strategies. He's waiting for you to invite Him into the very places you've tried to manage alone. The lonely rooms, the broken dreams, the decisions that haunt you at night, the relationships you're trying so hard to fix. Let Him in, not as a consultant, not as a backup plan, but as the sovereign guide of your every step. He doesn't want partial trust. He wants full authority. He doesn't want you to simply acknowledge Him. He wants you to surrender to Him. And that surrender is not weakness. It is strength in His purest form. It is the boldness to say, God, I trust your plan even when I don't see the blueprint. I believe in your wisdom even when mine has run dry. I lean on your understanding because mine has led me to dead ends. That kind of surrender releases spiritual power. It's not loud, but it echoes through eternity. It's not dramatic, but it tears down strongholds. Because where there is true surrender, there is true access to the power of God. Stop living like everything depends on you. That is a heavy yoke you were never meant to carry. That weight has worn you down emotionally, mentally, spiritually. You've been pushing, striving, calculating, but you've forgotten the most powerful thing you can do is fall on your knees and say, God, I release it to you. And when you do that, not with hesitation, but with holy conviction, you unleash something that no effort of yours could ever produce. Letting go doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you care enough to trust that God knows better, that His hand will lead you places your own planning never could, that His timing, though often mysterious, is always perfect. You see, the same God who orchestrates the movement of the planets is orchestrating your life. He is not random. He is not reactionary. He is precise. And you have not been forgotten. You have been positioned for something far greater than what your hands could ever build. Let go of the fear of failure. Some of you are still trying to control every decision because you're terrified of making the wrong one. But fear will never lead you into divine purpose. Only faith will. Trust that even if you take a step and stumble, God will catch you. He will redirect you. He will use your mistake as material for your growth. What you see as detour, He sees as development. What you call a delay, He calls preparation. Let go of your need to be understood. Some of you are bound by the opinions of others. You're adjusting your direction, changing your language, hiding your faith just to keep people pleased. But let me tell you, control built on human approval will always crumble. You are not here to be understood by everyone. You are here to be obedient to God. And obedience will often make you look foolish before it makes you fruitful. Do not fear rejection. Fear resisting the one who calls you. Do not chase applause. Chase alignment with the will of God. Let go of your past. Some of you are not controlling the future, you're being controlled by yesterday. Regret has become your companion. You replay old scenes, old words, old failures, and because of that, you are afraid to trust God with your next step. But God does not live in your past, He lives in your purpose. And He has the power to redeem, restore, and repurpose everything you've been through. Nothing you've gone through is wasted when surrendered to God. He turns ashes into strength. He turns scars into wisdom. But He cannot use what you won't release. Let go of your self-reliance. The world may applaud independence, but God calls you into dependency. Dependency not on people, not on systems, but on Him alone. He is your source, your provision, your protector, your defender, your wisdom. Everything you are looking for in all the wrong places can be found in Him. But to receive it, you must stop depending on yourself. Your greatest enemy in this hour is not the outside world. It's the inner voice that says, "I've got this." No, you don't. But God does. And He's waiting for you to stop trying to play God and start trusting the only true God. Let go of your limited expectations. Some of you are only trusting God as far as your logic can stretch. But God is not limited to your imagination. What He has prepared for you is far beyond what your mind can conceive. He's not just preparing blessings that match your dreams, He's preparing ones that surpass them. But He will not pour out abundance into a heart that only trusts partially. You must let go of the box you've put Him in. You must allow Him to be as great as He truly is. Not just with your words, but with your surrender. And let go of the clock. You've been looking at the hour, the calendar, the season, wondering why it hasn't happened yet. But God is not a prisoner of time. He operates in the fullness of seasons, not seconds. And sometimes He waits until every other door has shut, so that when He opens His door, you will know without a doubt, this was God and God alone. Don't measure God's faithfulness by your schedule. We measure it by His nature. He is never early, never late. He is always right on time. You see, the beauty of surrender is not just that it brings peace. It is that it brings alignment. When you let go, you align your life with a force far greater than yourself. You become a vessel, not a controller, a channel, not a dam, and through that vessel, God flows. He flows with wisdom, He flows with provision, He flows with protection, and He flows with direction that no map or plan could provide. Let every fiber of your being hear this truth. The reason the weight feels so unbearable is because you are trying to carry what only God was meant to hold. You are not created to be all-knowing, all-powerful, or in control of every outcome. That is not your role, that is God's. And the longer you insist on carrying what belongs to Him, the more exhausted your soul will become. It is not noble to suffer under a load you were never assigned. It is not brave to pretend you are fine while breaking on the inside. Real strength is not in holding it together. It is in handing it over. You don't need to figure out every answer. You don't need to solve every equation. God never called you to be the source. He called you to trust the source. And when you trust fully, you stop panicking over the unknown and begin living in the peace of what is eternally known. That God is in control, that He is near, that He is sovereign, and that He is working even in the silence. Your surrender is not a delay. It is a signal to heaven that you are finally ready to be led. Stop asking for direction while still gripping the steering wheel. God cannot steer a life that won't yield. You say you want clarity, but you refuse to be still. You say you want peace, but you keep wrestling for control. And God in His mercy will let you come to the end of yourself, not to shame you, but to show you that only when you let go can His glory come in full. You see, God does not meet you at the peak of your plan. He meets you at the altar of your surrender. That's where the real journey begins. You may feel like you're being stripped, but don't fear the stripping. The stripping is sacred. God removes what you cling to so He can become the one you cling to. He takes away the illusions, the idols, the distractions, not to harm you, but to heal you. And sometimes healing looks like losing. Sometimes freedom feels like falling. But when you fall into the hands of God, you fall into the only place where you are fully held, fully known, and fully sustained. Let go of your obsession with outcomes. You do not need to know what will happen. You only need to know who holds what will happen. The future is not a mystery to God. What confuses you is already clear to Him. What delays you is already settled in His design. And you may see fragments, but He sees the full tapestry. And that's why trust is not optional. It's essential. Because the walk of faith is not paved with answers. It's paved with surrender. When you let go of control, you are not giving up your destiny. You are giving your destiny back to the one who authored it. And He will not fail. He cannot fail. He does not make mistakes. His plans are perfect even when they pass through pain. His timing is flawless even when it stretches your patience. His guidance is sure even when the path looks dim. That is why the wisest thing you can do in this very hour is surrender. Surrender not just your burdens, but your identity. Stop defining yourself by your mistakes. Stop defining yourself by your titles, your status, your achievements. Those things shift like sand. But God's view of you is rooted in eternity. You are not what happened to you. You are not what you lost. You are not what you fear. You are what God declares you to be. And only when you let go of your own definitions can you step into your true calling. Let go of trying to manage the emotions of others. You are not responsible for the reactions, assumptions, or opinions of people. You are never meant to be controlled by their approval or disapproval. Your worth was never meant to hang on their affirmation. The moment you let that go is the moment you reclaim your peace. Because when God is your source, you are no longer a slave to public opinion. When God defines you, you are no longer tossed by the waves of human praise or criticism. And hear this with all your heart. There is divine protection in surrender. God is not only guiding your path, He is guarding your path. There are traps you never stepped into because He blocked the way. There are conversations you never had because He shut the mouth of the enemy. There are disasters you avoided not because of your wisdom, but because of His mercy. And yet we question Him when He delays. We doubt Him when He redirects. But all the things He has spared you from that you will never even know. There are prayers you prayed that God didn't answer because He loves you more than you understand. There are doors you begged Him to open that remain shut, not to hurt you, but to protect you. And when you surrender, you stop being bitter about what didn't happen and start being grateful for the unseen battles God won on your behalf. You realize that silence is not rejection, it's redirection. And sometimes closed doors are the loudest way God says, "Trust me." Let go of your grip on the familiar. God cannot move you into the next season if you're still chained to the comfort of the last one. Growth requires release. Faith requires risk. And sometimes God will call you to leave what is safe so you can find what is sacred. He'll pull you out of routine so He can awaken your spirit. He'll stretch your border so He can expand your vision. And the blessing you're praying for may not come wrapped in comfort. It may come wrapped in discomfort that pushes you toward His higher purpose. You see, when God moves, He doesn't ask for your permission. He asks for your cooperation. And your cooperation begins where your resistance ends. He doesn't need your plan. He needs your yes. And that yes must be unconditional. Not a yes that depends on results. Not a yes that is tied to timing. A pure yes. A surrendered yes. A yes that says, "God, even if the way is unfamiliar, I will walk. Even if the answer is silence, I will wait. Even if the cost is high, I will obey." But let go of your timelines. God is never in a rush because He is never late. And you are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are not overlooked. You are in the hands of the Master Planner, and He is preparing something far greater than you asked for. What looks like delay is divine preparation. What feels like stagnation is strategic stillness. God is working in the background while you are learning to trust in the foreground. And that trust, that unwavering trust, is what opens the floodgates of His purpose. Let go of your conditions. Stop telling God how He must bless you. Stop limiting His movement to your preferences. God is not here to serve your agenda. He is calling you into His. And His agenda is perfect. His agenda leads to life. His agenda leads to freedom. But it can only be accessed by those who are fully surrendered. By those who say, "Not my will, not my way, not my plan, but yours, O God, yours alone in sec." When you finally arrive at that moment, when every layer of pride has been peeled away, when fear no longer grips you, when the need for control has been laid down, you will encounter God in a way you never imagined. You'll no longer see Him as far off, but as a near and living presence working for you. You'll notice His hand woven into every delay, His nearness in each setback, His strength holding you in the pauses. And you'll understand deep within that surrender is not losing control. It's stepping into alignment with the One who holds the universe together. So release it. Release it with courage. Release it with gladness. Release it with sacred assurance that God is not just capable, He is willing. He is not only sovereign, He is deliberate. And the moment you let go of the reins, He will take you further than your effort ever could. He will raise you to levels your own plans never foresaw, and He will craft a testimony through your life that radiates His glory, not because you managed it, but because you surrendered it. Friends, listen with everything you have, because this instant is far from ordinary. This is a divine appointment. You did not find this message by chance. You did not press play out of mere curiosity. No, you are here because God set this very second aside to remind you that His work in you is not finished. He has not forgotten what was stolen from you. He has not missed the tears you shed alone. God is arranging a miracle that will return what you lost and bring even more. Many of you have walked through long seasons of drought, deep hurt, and crushing disappointment. You have faced loss after loss, relationships broken, finances collapsed, health weakened, and peace taken away. You have looked up and cried, "God, where are you? Why is everything I built falling apart?" Hear this. When God allows something to be taken, it is not to punish you, it is to clear space for something far greater. God never removes without intending to multiply. What seems like an ending to you is the stage being set for a supernatural beginning. What appears as rubble in your sight is the very foundation God will use to raise something glorious. You see, God is not a man who forgets. He is not like the world that discards the broken. God remembers. He remembers every prayer you whispered at midnight. He remembers the times you gave when you barely had enough for yourself. He remembers how you stayed silent when you could have fought back. He remembers how you kept believing when everything around you told you to give up. God saw it all. And now, yes, now, He is moving. He is sending a miracle that will not only restore what you lost, but elevate you beyond what you could have imagined. You may feel buried under the weight of grief, betrayal, or shame, but I'm here to tell you, God never buries His chosen. He plants them. And anything God plants, He plans to harvest. You are not dead. You are not forgotten. You are being prepared. Just because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it won't. Delay is not denial with God. Sometimes the waiting is the miracle in disguise, because in the waiting God is shifting hearts, opening doors, softening enemies, and preparing blessings that would have crushed you if they came too soon. God knows exactly what He's doing. He doesn't guess. He doesn't hope. He speaks, and it is so. And when He says He will restore what the enemy has taken, you better believe the enemy will have to release every stolen thing, every ounce of peace, every dream, every opportunity. God is bringing it back. But when He returns it, it won't be in the same form. It'll be greater, because God doesn't just give back, He gives back with increase. When God restores, He leaves no room for doubt that it was Him who did it. There are some listening right now who have been betrayed by those closest to you. People you trusted turned their backs and walked away when you needed them the most. You've been left with broken pieces, wondering how to put your life together again. But listen closely. God is not going to restore your life through those who left you. He is going to raise you up in such a way that even those who betrayed you will have to admit that God's hand is on you. God will turn your betrayal into a testimony, your pain into power, your loss into legacy. Don't confuse silence with absence. Just because you don't see anything changing doesn't mean God is not working. A seed doesn't grow in the spotlight, it grows in the dark. When no one's watching, when no one's clapping, when everything seems still, that's when roots go deep. That's when God builds your foundation so strong that when the blessing finally bursts forth, it will not collapse under the weight of glory. God is training you in the shadows for a destiny that will shine in the light. Some of you have cried out, "God, how much longer?" You're tired, weary, at the edge of giving up. But I urge you, don't give up in the hallway just because the door hasn't opened yet. God is still the God of sudden moments. In the blink of an eye, everything can shift. He can send one phone call, one connection, one breakthrough that will change the entire course of your life. And it won't be by your effort, it will be by His hand. And when He does it, no man can undo it, no devil can block it, no lie can reverse it, because when God releases, He releases with power. God is not intimidated by your mess. He is not afraid of what broke you. He is not disgusted by your weakness. In fact, He is closest when you feel the most unworthy. God is not looking for the strongest. He is looking for the surrendered. He's not waiting for perfection. He's waiting for trust. When you give God your broken pieces, He creates beauty no man can replicate. When you say, God, I can't do this anymore, that's when He says, now, let me show you what I can do. Some of you need to stop trying to fix everything on your own. You've been exhausting your strength trying to make things happen. But the miracle God is preparing will not come through striving, it will come through surrender. When you step back and let God step in, that's when the impossible becomes possible. God never fails. He never lies. He never abandons. What He promised you will come to pass, not because you deserve it, but because He is faithful. Even when you're not, He is. I want to speak directly to the person who lost something so dear it broke your soul. You've been asking, will I ever feel whole again? The answer is yes. Not because time heals all wounds, but because God does. God specializes in restoration, and He doesn't restore halfway. He restores fully, completely, and with purpose. You may have lost years, but God can redeem time. You may have lost relationships, but God can send people who honor and value you. You may have lost direction, but God can lead you into a path so divine. You'll forget the wilderness behind you. Hear me, this is not the end. This is not how your story finishes. God is the author and He's still writing. Don't judge your future by the chapter you're in. What feels like a storm is actually God rearranging the pieces for a better tomorrow. The enemy may have meant it for evil, but God is about to flip the script. He's about to use your setback as a slingshot. The greater the resistance, the further the launch. What tried to destroy you is what God will use to promote you. Some people around you won't understand what's happening. That's okay. This miracle isn't for their validation. It's for your vindication. God is going to make it so evident, so undeniable, that even your doubters will have to admit it was His power that lifted you up. You won't need to prove yourself. God will speak for you through the miracle He performs in your life. And when it comes, give Him all the glory, because no man will be able to say, they made you who you are. Only God. You may have been overlooked, underestimated, even laughed at, but God saw you. He never took His eyes off you. He knew exactly what you could handle. He knew the storm wouldn't drown you. He knew the fire wouldn't consume you. He allowed it not to destroy you, but to refine you. And now you are stronger, wiser, ready. The miracle He is about to release will not just restore what you've lost, it will reward who you become. You had to go through the valley to carry the victory with humility. Sometimes God allows what we love to be taken so that we'll learn to love the giver more than the gift. But once our hearts are aligned with Him, not what He gives, but who He is, that's when the heavens open. That's when the miracle flows like a river. God is looking for hearts that trust Him, not just hands that want from Him. And when He finds that trust, miracles follow, restoration follows, glory follows. So I say to you with every ounce of boldness, get ready. Get ready for divine compensation. Get ready for unexpected favor. Get ready for tears of joy where there once were tears of sorrow. God is about to move. The loss was real, yes, but so is the restoration. And it is coming, not by force, not by luck, but by the mighty hand of God. Hold on, stand firm, keep believing. Because when God moves, He moves with such power that your past can no longer define you. Everything that was taken, the years, the laughter, the confidence, the dreams, the stability, it's all coming back, better, stronger, overflowing. God is not limited by your current situation. He is not bound by human timelines. He creates out of nothing. He restores out of ruins. He blesses out of brokenness. What you thought was over, God is just beginning. What you thought you lost forever, God is holding in His hand, ready to return in abundance. This is not a fantasy. This is not blind hope. This is the unshakable truth of who God is. If He did it before, He can do it again. If He opened the sea for others, He can make a way for you. If He gave life to the barren, He can bring life to your situation. Nothing is too hard for God. No loss is too great. No pain is too deep. When He speaks, everything changes. When He moves, mountains crumble. And when He restores, He does it with such perfection that your story becomes a sign for others. People will look at you and say, "How did you make it?" And you will say, "It was God." Not talent, not money, not connections. God. He picked you up from the ashes and crowned you with beauty. He saw value in you when others saw failure. He stayed when others walked out. And now He is bringing a miracle to restore it all, because that's who He is. That's what He does, and He's doing it now. Even as you listen, even as you weep, even as you hope again, God is releasing a miracle that restores all you lost. Let me tell you something, and I want you to let this truth burn into your soul. When everything in your life appears shattered, when every door seems closed, when everyone you trusted has turned their back on you, that is not the end. That is the moment when the power of God is closest. That is the moment when the winds of restoration begin to stir in the unseen. God does not need applause, attention, or approval to move. He works in silence. He moves in stillness. And when He rises up to restore, no force in this world or the next can block His hand. You must understand, restoration does not mean returning to how things were. Restoration by God means elevation. It means increase. It means the years the locusts have eaten will be repaid with abundance. It means the seasons of weeping will be exchanged for rivers of joy. God does not match what you lost. He surpasses it, because His purpose for you was never tied to what left you. What was taken was not your foundation. It was only the scaffolding. What was broken was not the end. It was the preparation. There is a reason the storm did not kill you. There's a reason your heart, though cracked, still beats with hope. God is preserving you for something bigger than explanation. He is keeping you hidden for a reason, because when He finally unveils what He has been shaping in the shadows, even those who mocked you will have to confess that it could only have been the work of God. He is the master of reversal. He turns ashes into purpose, isolation into elevation, delay into destiny. Do not despise your process. Do not curse the pain, because sometimes God allows the ground to be shaken, not to destroy you, but to uproot what was never meant to grow with you. Sometimes He tears away the fault so that He can plant what is true. Sometimes He allows your plans to fail so that His plans can flourish. You may have prayed for restoration to come a certain way, but God is not obligated to move according to your logic. He is not constrained by human reason. He works in divine wisdom that sees the end from the beginning. If you are still standing, it means God is not through with you. If you are still breathing, It means your story has not reached its highest point. You may have been bruised, but you're not broken. You may have been delayed, but you are not denied. The miracle is already in motion. Restoration is not something that will happen someday. It's something God is already weaving into the fibers of your life. Even the setbacks you thought were random are being used to build the stage for His glory to be revealed. There is power in trusting God when nothing makes sense. There is strength in praising Him when your hands are empty. Because when God sees your faith in the middle of your lack, He unleashes His abundance. When He sees your loyalty in the face of loss, He opens the heavens. God is drawn to the humble heart. He is near to those who cry out to Him, not with complaints, but with surrender. When you say, "God, not my way but yours," that's when the miracle flows. That's when the tide turns. The truth is, many of the things you lost were never meant to stay. They were seasonal, not permanent. And God in His mercy allowed them to leave so you would not build your identity on sand. He is building something solid in your life, something that cannot be shaken by opinions, betrayed by people, or stolen by time. When God restores, He lays a foundation so strong that the enemy cannot uproot it. What He gives, no man can take. What He blesses, no curse can reverse. Some of you are still living in regret, clinging to the memories of what was. But hear me, God does not operate in the past. He operates in the present to prepare you for a greater future. Stop replaying the failures. Stop grieving what cannot be resurrected. Look forward. God is ahead of you, not behind you. He is not rehearsing your history, He is writing your destiny. And it is filled with light, purpose, and a restoration that will make your past seem like a shadow compared to what's coming. Let go of the idea that you missed your moment. With God, no moment is ever truly missed. He is the Redeemer of time. What others achieve in a decade, God can do for you in a day. One divine opportunity from Him can erase years of struggle. One encounter with His power can bring back what was lost with interest. He doesn't just restore, He compensates. And when He pays you back, it's not in the currency of man, it's in peace, favor, strength, and fulfillment. Now is the time to silence every voice of doubt that says it's too late. Now is the time to rebuke every lie that says you're too broken. Now is the time to rise with faith and declare, "If God is for me, who can be against me?" You are not a victim. You are not abandoned. You are not cursed. You are chosen. You are preserved. You are on the edge of a breakthrough so divine. You will look back on this season and thank God, not just for the restoration, but for the stripping that made room for it. Your name is still on God's list. Your address is still in His mind. Your tears are still in His record. Not one of them has been wasted. He collects every sorrow and stores every cry, not to forget but to repay. And His repayment comes when you least expect it. In the middle of the ordinary, the supernatural can break forth. In the place of pain, a door of glory can open. God's restoration is not limited by circumstances. He creates rivers in deserts. He brings harvest from barren places. The people who thought your story was over are about to witness a transformation they cannot explain. God is not just restoring what you lost. He's using your story as a sign to others. You're becoming the evidence that God restores, that He remembers, that He revives. And no one will be able to deny that it was His hand that did it. Because when God restores, He does it in a way that commands awe, that silences critics, that brings glory to no one but Himself. So don't stop believing, don't stop praying, don't stop trusting. The restoration is coming. The breakthrough is near. You may not see it yet, but it is forming, it is rising, it is being released. And when it arrives, it will be like a flood, sudden, powerful, undeniable. You will weep tears of joy. You will walk in places you once only dreamed of. You will carry peace that passes understanding. And all of it will come not because of anything you earned, but because of who God is. God is the restorer. God is the lifter. God is the healer. And He is getting ready to turn your sorrow into dancing, your mourning into celebration, your losses into testimony. Stand firm. Lift your head. The miracle is coming, and it carries the signature of God Almighty. Let the fire of truth burn in your spirit today, because this is not just another message. This is a divine summons, a holy reminder that God has not closed the book on your life. What the world labeled as over, God still calls unfinished. And let me tell you, when God speaks life into something that looks dead, it does not just survive, it thrives. That which was declared barren can suddenly produce abundance. That which was buried in sorrow can rise in strength. Because when God touches a situation, the natural gives way to the supernatural. There are seasons when God allows your strength to fail. Not to shame you, but to teach you that restoration does not come through might nor through effort, but by His will alone. That moment when you fall to your knees, when you release the illusion of control, when you finally whisper, "God, I surrender." That is the moment heaven begins to move. That is the moment restoration begins, not in the hands of men, but in the secret workings of God, who never sleeps, never forgets, and never loses a battle. Many people think restoration means getting back what you had. But God is not in the business of returning you to the past. He is in the business of transforming you for the future. The reason some things were stripped away was because they were not designed to go where He is taking you. You see, some of the losses you grieve were divine subtractions, surgically removed by God, so that your spirit would not be contaminated by what was never pure in the first place. And though it hurt, though it left you questioning, it was still mercy, because there are moments when what we plead for God to restore has already been deemed unfit for the path ahead. That is why He whispers, "Trust me in the shadows. Trust me when the healing hasn't arrived. Trust me while the doors remain shut." For the silence you face is not God's absence, it is His preparation at work. Blessings are crafted in hidden places. Restoration is shaped in the fire of faith. And if you do not faint, if you keep standing, even with shaking knees, God will unveil in His timing what He has been forming behind the curtain. Right now, there are things unfolding in your life that defy human reason. You sense the wind pushing hard against you. You feel like every effort crumbles in your hands. But hear me, resistance is not rejection. Pressure is not punishment. God permits the crushing because what He is bringing forth from you is holy. Oil only flows when the olive is pressed. Fragrance only rises when the incense is consumed by fire. And true strength is born only when the soul has learned to trust Him in the unseen. God is not interested in patchwork solutions. He doesn't bandage wounds. He heals them from the inside out. And when He heals, He leaves no scar that controls you. He removes the sting of the past. He wipes the slate clean, not to forget your story, but to give you the authority to stand on it. Because what tried to destroy you will become the very platform God uses to elevate you. What tried to silence you will become the very melody God uses to speak through you. This is restoration with purpose, not just for comfort, but for calling. There is a restoration that carries weight, not the weight of sorrow, but the weight of glory. And when God places this upon your life, you begin to walk differently. You begin to speak with authority. You begin to discern what is meant for you and what is a distraction. Because now you have walked through fire and survived. Now you have been emptied of self and filled with a greater strength. And that strength does not come from books or from people. It comes from time spent in the presence of God, from battles fought in silence, from surrender offered with tears, from nights of wrestling and mornings of renewed hope. Some of you think it's too late. You believe your age, your past, your mistakes have disqualified you from the promise. But hear this, God's timeline is not dictated by the calendar of men. He can do in one day what would take man a lifetime. He can raise the overlooked, the outcast, the forgotten, and place them in positions of influence for His glory. Time does not limit God. Delay does not frustrate Him. He is the redeemer of wasted years, the restorer of stolen days. Nothing is lost when it is placed in the hands of God. The moment you release your brokenness, He begins the work. But it is not always immediate, and it is not always visible. It often begins in your spirit in a place no one sees. In your quiet decisions to keep trusting, in your silent acts of obedience when no one is watching. God sees it all. And He responds not just to what you say, but to how you endure. Every step of faith, every act of humility, every word of gratitude. And in His perfect timing, He rewards it. He is building something eternal in you. Not temporary satisfaction, but eternal weight. Not fleeting victories, but lasting transformation. And that transformation is worth every tear, every loss, every lonely night. Because when the restoration comes, you will not only be healed, you will be whole. You will not only be comforted, you will be commissioned. Your scars will speak not of pain, but of power. Your story will carry weight, not because of what you endured, but because of who brought you through it. Let no voice convince you that God has forgotten. Let no whisper of the enemy make you believe that your time is over. God does not forget His promises. He does not retract His purpose. What He began, He will complete. What He spoke, He will fulfill. And though it may tarry, wait for it shall surely come, and it will not delay. And when it comes, you will know it was God, because no one else could have written such a redemption story. No one else could have restored so completely, so perfectly, and so divinely. So lift your head, straighten your spine, wipe your tears, and prepare your heart, because God is not only going to restore what you lost, He's going to exceed what you imagined. The storm you endured was not to drown you, but to deepen you. The loss you grieved was not the end, but the clearing of ground for new growth. You are not behind schedule. You're exactly where God needs you to be for His miracle to unfold. He will restore. He is restoring. And when He does, the world will see and know it was God and God alone. Listen closely, because what you're about to receive is not just encouragement, it is divine truth wrapped in fire. God is not in the business of recycling your past. He is in the business of redeeming your future. Restoration is not about getting back what you lost in the same form. It is about walking into something that proves you never truly lost. You were being repositioned. God is not trying to give you back a broken version of yesterday. He is pulling you into a future so complete, so fulfilling, that the pain of the past will no longer hold power over your mind, your heart, or your destiny. And let me tell you this, when God restores, He doesn't seek your enemy's permission. He doesn't consult your past failures. He doesn't ask the doubters for their opinion. No. When God decides to move in your life, He does it in such a way that it silences every voice that ever spoke against you. That's the kind of restoration He brings. Not quiet, not timid, not halfway, but bold, undeniable, and overflowing. God does not need to be subtle when He chooses to vindicate the faithful. You may have walked through seasons where it seemed like the heavens were closed. Prayers felt like echoes in an empty room. You fasted, you waited, you cried, and still nothing changed. But listen to this truth. Delay is never denial when you're in God's hands. God was never ignoring you. He was guarding you. He was arranging things that your human eyes could not perceive. He was closing doors that looked like blessings but were actually traps. And He was removing people who smiled in your face but would have betrayed you on the mountaintop. His silence was not absence, it was protection. And now God is beginning to shift. The ground beneath your spirit is moving. You feel it. Something is stirring. Something is awakening. The time of pruning is giving way to the time of planting. The time of refining is making room for the time of reigning. God has watched you hold on when everything around you said, let go. He has watched you believe when the facts said, give up. And now His reward is coming not because you were strong, but because you remained surrendered. This restoration will not just be for your benefit, it will be for the glory of God. It will not be about applause, fame, or recognition. It will be about showing the world that when God steps into a broken life, He doesn't just fix it, He redefines it. You will walk through doors you never knocked on. You will sit at tables you never expected to be invited to. You will hold blessings you didn't chase because they were chasing you all along. That's the power of God. He aligns the right place, the right time, and the right purpose to converge in divine harmony. And let us not mistake restoration for comfort alone. Sometimes God's greatest restoration comes with a call to responsibility. He restores not just to bless you, but to prepare you to bless others. He lifts you so you can lift the broken. He heals you so you can be the voice for the voiceless. Restoration with God always carries a mantle. It's not just for your survival, it's for your assignment. You're not just getting back what was lost, you're being prepared to carry what others cannot. You see, pain has a way of purifying the soul. It reveals what matters. It exposes what was false. And when you've been through the fire with God by your side, you come out with discernment that no textbook can teach. That's why some of you had to walk alone. That's why you had to lose what you thought you couldn't live without. God wasn't punishing you. He was pruning you, stripping away the noise so you could finally hear His voice clearly. And now that you've heard it, nothing will ever be the same. Don't miss this. What you thought was a breakdown was actually a breakthrough in disguise. God often breaks the shell so that what's within can grow. Your tears were not wasted. They watered the soil of your future. Your loneliness was not abandonment. It was sacred isolation for divine instruction. Your loss was not the end. It was the space God needed to show you that He alone is enough. And when you realize that God is your portion, then nothing else can ever truly be taken from you. Restoration is coming, and it's coming with divine force. It's not going to be subtle. It's going to be overwhelming. You will feel the shift in the atmosphere. Doors will open, not by strategy but by favor. Hearts will turn in your direction, not because of charisma, but because of divine alignment. And the peace that passes all understanding will become your portion, not because the storm disappeared, but because you now know who commands. God is the one who can resurrect what men have declared dead. He is the one who brings order to chaos, clarity to confusion, healing to devastation. He doesn't work according to man's logic. He works according to His own eternal design. So stop trying to predict how the restoration will come. Stop trying to package it in your expectations. Let go. Release your need to control. Because when God restores, it never looks like what you imagined. It looks better. It feels deeper. It lasts longer. It satisfies more fully. You will walk into rooms where you once felt small. And this time you will walk with your head held high, not with pride, but with holy confidence. You will return to places that once rejected you, and now they will have to make room for the blessing you carry. You will speak words that carry weight because they have been forged in the fire of affliction and purified by the presence of God. Your restoration is not just external, it is internal. So let the world watch, let the doubters talk, let the storms rage, because the one who created heaven and earth is not shaken. He is not overwhelmed. He is not late. He is preparing the table, arranging the season, and aligning the hour. And when He says, "Now," nothing can stop what He has destined. This is not just about recovery, it is about redemption. This is not just a comeback, it is a divine unveiling of what has been hidden for such a time as this. And you, yes, you, are part of that unveiling. You are not here by accident. You are not listening by coincidence. This is your confirmation. This is your call to stand, to believe again, to hope again. Because God is releasing a miracle that will not just restore what was taken, it will establish what was promised. And when it comes, it will be undeniable that it was done by God and God alone. You who have been crushed by life's heavy hand, who have watched dreams collapse and relationships disintegrate, you who have stared into the darkness of despair and wondered if the light would ever return, listen and believe this truth. God is not only aware of your pain, He has already designed your healing. He has already written the day and the hour of your restoration. What seems delayed to man is always on time with God. His power is not rushed, and His plan is never disordered. What He is preparing for you requires a foundation deeper than emotions and stronger than circumstances. It requires a soul that trusts Him when all else fades. God restores not according to human timelines, but according to divine preparation. And the waiting, oh, the waiting is not wasted time. It is sacred ground. It is the place where pride dies and surrender is born. It is where strength is refined and trust becomes more than a word. It becomes a posture, a lifestyle, a declaration of unwavering belief. When you wait on God, you are not standing still. You are being strengthened. You are being seasoned. You are being sculpted into someone who can carry the very thing you've been praying for. Many ask, why must the pain come before the promise? Because true restoration must begin within. If God gave you everything you lost before your heart was prepared, you would mishandle the blessing. But God is too wise to waste glory on unprepared hands, so He uses the pain to purify. He uses the silence to sharpen. He uses the fire to remove the excess that cannot go with you into your next season. The greater the calling, the deeper the refinement. And what you've been walking through is not punishment, it's preparation. Let me tell you something sacred. God doesn't just restore what you lost, He restores what was never allowed to grow. There are things in you, gifts, strength, vision, that were buried under fear, buried under rejection, buried under lies that others told you about yourself. But when God begins His restoration, He doesn't just look at the surface. He goes deep into your identity. He reminds you of who you are in His sight, not who people said you were, not what failure tried to label you, but who He formed you to be from the beginning. And when God restores identity, no one can distort it again. And understand this, the miracle you've been waiting for may not look like what you imagined, but it will feel like peace. It will feel like freedom. It will feel like purpose rising where confusion once lived. Because God does not restore things just for your comfort. He restores for alignment. He brings things back into your life because now you're ready to receive them in the right posture, in the right mindset, with the right priorities. When God restores, He doesn't just give back, He makes new. He revives the soul, not just the situation. You may be in a place right now where everything feels unstable. You feel the tension between faith and frustration. You pray, yet problems persist. You believe, yet battles continue. But let me tell you what the storm doesn't want you to know. God is in control even when it feels like chaos. And His restoration often comes when the winds are still blowing. He doesn't wait for the waters to settle. He speaks in the midst of the storm. And when He speaks, even the chaos must obey. Let those around you doubt. Let them question your faith. Let them whisper, "Where is their God now?" Because soon, very soon, God will answer, not with words, but with wonders. He will place in your hands what no man could fabricate. He will open doors that no influence could unlock. He will raise you up in a way that makes it clear this was not luck. This was not coincidence. This was divine intervention. Restoration by the hand of God bears a signature no one else can counterfeit. God is raising up people in this hour who are not seeking spotlight, who are not chasing validation, but who are hungry for purpose, rooted in obedience, and refined by affliction. These are the ones He is restoring, not to return to the past, but to build what eyes have not yet seen. You may feel disqualified because of your past, but God does not choose the qualified. He qualifies those He chooses. And if God has chosen to restore you, no one can cancel what He has called. So take courage, not because the battle is easy, but because the one who fights for you has never lost. Take heart, not because the pain has vanished, but because the purpose behind it is now being revealed. And as the dawn breaks, as the new season arrives, you will look back not with regret, but with reverence, because you will understand that the crushing produced oil, the weeping produced wisdom, the loss produced a longing for God that the blessing alone could never satisfy. You are not empty, you are being filled. You are not forgotten, you are being remembered in the courts of heaven. The pages of your life are not blank, they are being inscribed with victory page by page, line by line. And when the story unfolds, it will be clear. It was not your strength that brought you through. It was the mercy of God, the will of God, the love of God that refused to let go of you even when you felt unworthy. Hold fast to this truth. What God has promised, He will perform. What He has spoken, He will bring to pass. The miracle is not coming, it is already forming. The breakthrough is not distant, it is drawing near. The restoration is not a possibility, it is a certainty for those who remain planted in faith. You have cried, you have endured, you have held on through storm and silence. Now prepare your heart, prepare your mind, prepare your spirit, Because when God restores, it comes suddenly, it comes completely, and it comes with glory that belongs to Him alone. So now stand still for a moment, not with your feet, but with your soul. Let every noise fade. Let every distraction lose its grip. Listen not with the ears of flesh, but with the ears of the heart. For the voice of God is calling, not with thunder, but with truth, not with pressure, but with presence. He is reaching for you in this very moment, not because you are perfect, but because you are chosen to rise from the ashes of what was and step into the fullness of what can be. This is the moment where your faith becomes your foundation and your surrender becomes your strength. It is time to strip away the excuses, to let go of the weight that has burdened your soul for far too long. Let go of bitterness, of fear, of false security. Let go of the shame that tells you you're too far gone. God is not counting your failures. He is measuring your willingness to return. And if your heart still beats with the desire to be whole, then restoration is already in motion. The path is not easy, but it is holy. The cost is not small, but the reward is eternal. And it begins the moment you say from the depths of your soul, God, I am yours. Lead me. Let your life become an altar. Let your thoughts become a prayer. Let your days be lived as worship, not in word alone, but in obedience, in humility, in faithfulness, when no one sees. Because the greatest miracles are not always loud. Sometimes they are quiet. Sometimes they are the peace that steadies your soul. Sometimes they are the strength to keep going when everything in you wants to stop. Sometimes they are the courage to forgive, to begin again, to believe that God is still writing your story with mercy in every line. So I ask you, will you rise from the place of your pain, not in your own strength, but in the power that comes from trusting God completely? Will you walk away from the identity that the world has forced on you and step into the identity God whispered over you before the foundation of the world? Will you burn the bridges to your doubts and build altars of devotion with every breath, every choice, every step? This is not just about what God will restore, it is about who you will become as He does. May your life resound with the voice of truth in a world that constantly settles for less. May your hands bring comfort where pain once lingered. May your gaze remain fixed, not on the temporary, but on what lasts forever. And when life tries to pull you in countless directions, may your soul remain steady in the only path that never shifts, toward God, with all your heart, your mind, and your soul. For in the end, when words grow silent, when possessions fade, when seasons come to a close, God is still there, and having Him means you already hold everything. So step forward, not as one waiting for deliverance, but as one already chosen to rise. Walk with fire in your spirit, with clarity in your thoughts, and with devotion rooted deep within. Let the world witness, not only through your voice, but through your steadfast life, that you serve a God who is alive, mighty, and full of mercy. And may your very existence proclaim a message louder than fear, louder than doubt, louder than the noise around you, that God is enough, that He is faithful, and He restores all things. Let this truth be your guiding light, your shield, and the unending song of your life. God knows your exhaustion. And I'm not talking about the kind of tired a quick nap can solve. I'm speaking of the soul-deep, bone-heavy, hidden battle kind of weariness. The weight that clings to you, even when your face shows a smile and your hands stay busy. You carry loads no one else notices. You shed tears no one else hears. You walk through storms no one else can see. And though the world demands strength from you day after day, inside you quietly ask God, how much longer can I hold on? There come seasons when the burden feels too heavy to bear. You arrive at the end of your own strength. Your prayers seem to echo back without answer. You wait, and nothing appears to shift. You plead for response, but only silence meets you. You reach out, yet it feels as though God is distant. But I speak to you today with every ounce of faith in my soul. God sees you. God knows your hurt. God understands your fatigue, and God has not overlooked you. You may not witness His hand at work, but trust that He is moving. When the nights are long and the pain is deep, God is working behind the scenes. When you feel like you have nothing left, God is still pouring out His strength. When you are crying on your pillow and no one knows, God collects every tear. He is not blind to your struggle, and He is not deaf to your prayers. The silence of God does not mean the absence of God. The silence of God does not mean the absence of God. You must learn to pray even when it hurts. You must learn to trust even when you don't understand. You must learn to wait when your soul is screaming for answers. This is not weakness, this is strength. Strength is not always loud. Sometimes strength is the quiet decision to keep going, to keep trusting, to keep believing that God is still in control. There is a reason God allows us to feel this tiredness. Sometimes God will allow the storm to rage to teach us that peace is not found in calm waters, but in trusting Him during the chaos. Sometimes God will let everything fall apart to show us He is the only one holding us together. God does not promise us a life free of burdens, but He promises that His power is made perfect in our weakness. And that weakness you feel, it is the very doorway through which God will pour His strength. God is never late. He is never distracted. He is never unsure. He is not pacing the floors of heaven, wondering what to do about your situation. He has already seen the end from the beginning. He already knows how your story ends. And even though it may feel like you are walking through the valley alone, God is walking beside you. Every breath you take in the middle of your pain is a testament to the strength He is giving you to endure. When you are tired, pray. Not because prayer changes everything instantly, but because prayer anchors your soul to the one who never changes. Prayer is not always about answers. Sometimes it's about alignment. Sometimes God delays the breakthrough to deepen your faith. Sometimes God says, wait, not because He is withholding something from you, but because He is preparing something greater for you. You see, there is power in the waiting. Waiting on God is not wasted time. Waiting is where trust is refined. Waiting is where character is built. Waiting is where pride is stripped away. In the waiting, you are not being punished. You are being positioned. Positioned for a greater glory, a deeper faith, and a more unshakable trust in God. The world may rush you, people may forget you, and your mind may betray you. But God remains steady. God remains faithful. The tiredness you feel today is not the end of your journey. It is a turning point. It is a sign that something in you is being stretched. Something in you is growing. God uses the weariness to bring you to your knees. Not to destroy you, but to remind you where your true strength comes from. When you reach the end of yourself, you have reached the beginning of God's power. Do not let your tiredness make you forget who your God is. God is the sustainer of the weak. God is the healer of the broken. God is the restorer of the worn out. You may feel empty, but He is full. You may feel lost, but He knows the way. You may feel forgotten, but He has written your name on the palm of His hand. Even when you can't trace His hand, you can trust His heart. Your feelings may lie, your thoughts may falter, your body may fail, but God is unchanging. He has never abandoned you before, and He won't start now. The night may be dark, but the dawn is coming. You are not stuck, you are being shaped. You are not abandoned, you are being anointed. God has not turned His face from you. He is closer now than ever before. Do not give up because you're tired. Get closer to God because you're tired. Fall into Him. Cry to Him. Speak to Him. Even if all you can say is, "Help me." That prayer, whispered from the depth of your soul, shakes the heavens. God does not require eloquence. He requires sincerity. He does not demand perfection. He responds to faith. And faith is not always loud. It's the quiet decision to keep praying, to keep trusting, to keep waiting. Some of you are carrying weights that were never yours to carry. You're trying to be everything for everyone, trying to solve every problem, trying to hold your life together in your own strength. But God did not create you to be the savior of your world. God wants you to surrender that burden. Lay it at His feet. Let Him carry what you cannot. He is not asking you to figure it all out. He is asking you to trust Him while He does. Your breakthrough may not come today. Your answer may not show up tomorrow. But every time you choose to pray instead of panic, trust instead of tremble, and wait instead of worry, you are planting seeds of faith, and in due season, God will bring the harvest. He will show you why you had to wait. He will reveal the reason behind the silence. He will make all things beautiful in His time. Even when your knees are trembling and your hands are shaking, stand firm in your faith. God has never failed, not once, and He won't start with you. You may be tired, but you are not defeated. You may be weak, but you are not worthless. You may feel broken, but you are still in the hands of the potter. And the hands of God do not destroy. They rebuild, they reshape, So pray, even if your voice is trembling. Pray when you don't feel like it. Pray when your heart is heavy. Pray when you feel like giving up. Because prayer connects you to the power that is greater than anything you face. When you pray, you are declaring that God is still in control. When you pray, you are making war in the spiritual realm. When you pray, mountains begin to tremble and chains begin to break, even if you can't see it yet. And after you've prayed, wait. Don't run ahead of God. Don't try to force what only He can fix. Waiting is not passive, it's active faith. It's trusting that the God who started a good work in you will be faithful to complete it. It's believing that even in the silence, He is speaking. Even in the delay, He is working. Even in the confusion, He is bringing clarity. And while you wait, trust. Trust that God knows what He's doing. Trust that God sees what you can't. Trust that even the pain has a purpose. God is not wasting your suffering. He is using it to carve out a deeper well of wisdom, compassion, and strength inside of you. Every tear is watering the soil of your future. Every trial is preparing the path to your destiny. You may feel like you're in a season of silence, but God is still speaking. You may feel like you're in a season of delay, but God is still moving. You may feel like you're in a season of defeat, but God is preparing your victory. Do not let the enemy convince you that your weariness is a sign that God has left you. The enemy attacks the hardest when he knows God is about to do something great. The tension you feel is the stretching of your faith. The exhaustion you feel is the refining of your spirit. And soon, very soon, God will step in with power. He will make a way where there was no way. He will lift you up out of the pit. He will breathe life into your dry bone, because that is what God does. God restores. God revives. God renews. When all hope seems lost, God speaks a word and shifts everything. He doesn't need a crowd. He doesn't need applause. He only needs your faith. And your faith, no matter how small, is enough for God to move. You may be tired, but you are still chosen. You may be drained, but you are still called. You may be weak, but you are still being prepared. This tiredness you feel is not in vain. It is the process. And the process is proof that God is still working. He is the author of your story, and He writes with purpose. There is not a single sentence in your life that God does not use for your good. So press on, not in your own strength, but in the strength of God. Walk on, not because the road is easy, but because the one who walks with you is greater than anything that stands against you. Speak to your soul and say, God knows, God sees, God cares, God is near. And let that truth be your anchor in every storm. Even when it's hard to believe, choose to believe. Even when it's hard to hope, choose to hope. Even when you feel like quitting, choose to stay. Not because of your own strength, but because of the unshakable truth that God has never lost a battle, not with anyone, not ever. And He will not lose with you. God knows you are tired, but He is not tired. He does not slumber. He does not grow weary. He holds the universe in His hands, and yet He holds your heart with the same care. So rest in Him. Rest in His promise. Rest in His plan. Rest in His presence, and let your tired soul be renewed, not by the removal of the storm, but by the realization that the God who calms the storm walks with you through it. You see, when your strength runs out, that is not the end. It is the threshold of divine power. That is where the natural ends and the supernatural begins. God does not require your perfection. He requires your surrender. God does not demand that you carry the weight of your world. He invites you to cast it upon Him. This is not weakness, it is wisdom. Wisdom to understand that your capacity has limits. But God is limitless. Your knowledge is partial, but God knows the full picture. And sometimes that tiredness in your soul is God's way of drawing you closer to His wisdom, His timing, His higher ways. There are moments when everything you built in your own strength will begin to crumble. Not to destroy you, but to bring you to the foundation that cannot be shaken. God is not in the business of quick fixes and shallow comforts. God is in the business of transformation. When you are exhausted from carrying burdens that were never yours to bear, He doesn't just relieve you, He reshapes you. He removes what's unnecessary. He burns away what's temporary. He cuts away the distractions, the pride, the false dependencies, until all that remains is a vessel ready to be filled with His power. Yes, the waiting is painful. Yes, the silence can feel unbearable, but do not confuse the silence of God with the absence of God. Sometimes the silence is His strategy. Sometimes God steps back, not to forsake you, but to strengthen you, to grow your faith, not by what you see, but by what you believe. It is in the darkness that trust is tested. It is in the delays that your devotion is refined, and in the stillness of the soul God whispers the kind of truths that can only be heard when everything else is quiet. You may not understand why God hasn't answered your cry yet. You may feel like time is running out, that opportunities are slipping through your fingers. But understand this: God is never in a rush. God doesn't work according to human clocks. While you are watching the minutes pass, God is orchestrating eternity. While you are worried about what is slipping away, God is preparing what will never be taken from you. He is not just trying to give you relief. He is shaping your life into something eternal, something holy, something set apart. And if you could see what God is preparing in the invisible, you would stop doubting in the visible. If your eyes could catch just a glimpse of the angels He has assigned to walk with you, you would walk with boldness even in the middle of your fear. If your ears could hear the conversations God has had about your destiny, you would stop comparing yourself to those around you and start honoring the journey He has handcrafted for you. There is no wasted moment in the hands of God. Not a single tear, not a single heartbreak, not a single moment of loneliness is overlooked. Every step you've taken in pain has been recorded by the one who watches over your soul. Every sleepless night has been seen by the one who neither slumbers nor sleeps. And He will repay you not just with comfort but with purpose, not just with blessings but with clarity. God does not owe you anything, yet in His mercy He chooses to restore everything. But restoration only comes to those who trust the process, not the comfortable process, not the predictable process, but the divine process. A process that often looks like struggle before it looks like success. A process that often feels like breaking before it feels like blessing. But make no mistake, God is the master craftsman. He does not make mistakes with His tools. If He allows the pressure, it is to purify. If He allows the delay, it is to develop. If He allows the pain, it is to prepare. This is the hour to remember that tiredness does not mean defeat. It means you are human. It means you care deeply. It means you have been trying, praying, enduring. But now it's time to stop striving in your own strength and start abiding in God's strength. It's time to stop rehearsing your fears and start declaring your faith. It's time to remember that God did not bring you this far to leave you now. You are still here. That is the proof. You have been through storms that should have drowned you. You have faced trials that could have crushed you. But you're still breathing, still standing, still seeking God. And that is not by accident. That is grace. That is power. That is divine intervention working silently on your behalf. The enemy tried to steal your hope, but God preserved it. The enemy tried to make you quit, but God sustained you. The enemy tried to isolate you in your pain, but God met you there and whispered, "You are not alone." And no, you don't have to have all the answers. You don't need to understand the plan in full. All God asks is that you trust Him with the next step. Not the whole journey, just the next step. You don't need to see the whole staircase, just keep climbing. You don't need to map out the whole future, just stay faithful where you are. That is trust, that is faith, that is surrender. So when your body is weak, let your spirit speak louder. Say to yourself, God is still my strength. When your mind is racing with doubts, let your soul declare, God is still in control. When you feel like quitting, cry out, God, carry me. He will. Because He is not a distant force, He is an ever-present helper. He is not just watching from above, He is walking with you, dwelling in the moments you thought no one cared. And you may look around and think others have it easier. You may wonder why your road is harder, but your road is holy. Your struggle has weight because your calling has glory. Your pain is deep because your purpose is greater, and God is preparing you for what others cannot handle. Stop comparing your journey to those who were never meant to walk your path. God handpicked you for something sacred. Don't let fatigue rob you of that revelation. There is a holy fire being lit in the dark places of your soul. A fire that will not be extinguished by hardship. A fire that will not be drowned by despair. It is a fire of endurance. The fire of faith. The fire of spiritual authority that only comes from walking through the valley with God and discovering that He is enough. That is more than enough. You may not feel strong right now, but faith is not a feeling. Faith is a decision. A decision to believe when everything around you says it's over. A decision to hope when hope makes no logical sense. A decision to keep praying, not because of what you see, but because of what you believe God will do. That kind of faith moves mountains. That kind of faith silences the lies of fear. That kind of faith invites God to do the impossible. So no, you don't need to have it all together. You just need to stay connected to the one who holds it all together. You don't need to pretend to be strong. You just need to stay close to the source of strength. You don't need to understand everything. You just need to trust the one who does. God never sleeps. God never gives up. God never changes. And when everything in your world is shifting, shaking, falling apart, God remains the solid ground. You can build your hope on Him. You can anchor your soul in Him. You can place your future in His hands, and you will not be disappointed. So pray, even when your voice shakes, even when your faith feels fragile, even when your prayers seem unanswered. Pray, because prayer is not merely conversation, it is communion, it is alignment, it is surrender. And in surrender, peace is found, not because the struggles disappear, but because God is present within them. And wait, not with passivity, but with expectation. Wait, not with fear, but with confidence that God has already set in place what your eyes have yet to see. Wait, because His timing is more than just right, it is flawless. His delay is never rejection, it is divine design. And trust. Trust when the winds roar and the waters rise. Trust when companions fail and opportunities close. Trust when every part of you wants to run, to fix, to seize control. Trust that the same God who brought you this far has not led you here to forsake you, but to reveal His nature to you. God knows your exhaustion, and He is not disappointed in your fatigue. He is not upset by your weakness. He is near. He is ready. He is reaching toward you even now, not with condemnation, but with compassion. Not with frustration, but with faithfulness. And if you reach back, if you give Him your tired soul, your broken dreams, your heavy heart, He will lift you. He will restore you. He will fill you again. 'Cause God is not finished. God is still writing your story. And the chapter you're in may be hard, but it's not the last one. There is still purpose ahead. There is still joy ahead. There is still strength you've yet to walk in, blessings you've yet to see, and peace you've yet to feel. It's coming not because of your effort, but because of God's promise, and God always keeps His promises. There comes a point in every soul's journey when the darkness feels heavier than light, when the silence of the heavens feels louder than any shout, when the soul groans with words that can't be formed. That's not the end. That's the refining. That is where God meets you in ways that logic cannot explain. That is where faith matures, where trust is purified, and where you discover that God is not simply a refuge in times of ease, but a fortress in the hour of your greatest weakness. You learn that peace is not the absence of storms. Peace is the nearness of God while the storm rages on. You cannot measure God's presence by your emotions. Feelings are fleeting. They rise and fall like the tide. But the truth of God is constant. The truth is that He is always near to the brokenhearted. The truth is that God draws closer to the weary. The truth is that when you feel most abandoned, God is closest, carrying you through what you don't even realize would have crushed you without His grace. The battle you didn't see was already fought by the hand you didn't notice. That's how God works, quietly, deeply, and always with purpose. And what is that purpose? To mold you, to shape you, to anchor you so deeply in faith that no wind can uproot you. God is not concerned with quick comfort. He is after unshakable faith. He is after hearts that will not bow to pressure, souls that will not surrender to discouragement, and minds that will not collapse under confusion. God strengthens those who dare to wait when it would be easier to run. He empowers those who remain still when the world screams for motion, because in that stillness, a voice greater than fear begins to rise. A voice that says, "Be still and know that God is in control." That God is aware that nothing has escaped His notice. The long nights, the burdens carried silently, the moments of breakdown behind closed doors, God saw them all, and not a single second of your struggle will go unused. When you trust God, nothing is wasted. The pain becomes preparation, the delay becomes development, the silence becomes sanctification. This is where many turn back. When God doesn't move how they expected or speak when they demanded. But you, if you are to walk in the fullness of God's power, must go deeper, beyond your expectations, beyond your deadlines, beyond your understanding. That's where true surrender lives. That's where real power is born. Not in knowing, but in trusting. Not in controlling, but in yielding. When you say, "Even though I don't see the way, I will walk by faith," you are no longer walking in your own strength. You are walking in alignment with the one who formed the path before you ever took a step. Many want the promise, but few are willing to endure the process. But if God allows you to wait, it is because He is forming a strength in you that cannot be taken away by time, by people, or by circumstances. That inner strength doesn't come from books, titles, or even experience. It comes from seasons of complete dependence on God. It is born in the fire of surrender. It grows in the soil of patience, and it shines in the darkness because it was forged in the absence of light. There are things God is doing in you right now that you don't even recognize. He is closing doors to protect you from what you would have chased. He is removing people who are only assigned for a temporary season. He is stripping away distractions to bring clarity to your purpose. Do not despise what you lose in this season, because what God takes away, He replaces with something eternal. You may mourn what is gone, but wait until you see what is coming. Your faith must be bigger than your frustration. Your hope must be louder than your doubt. And your trust in God must be stronger than your impulse to fix everything yourself. There is power in letting go. There is breakthrough in surrender. There is rest in simply saying, "God, I trust you right here, right now, even when nothing makes sense." That prayer will do more for your future than all the plans you've drawn up in your own wisdom. And when God does move, when He opens a door, answers the prayer, lifts the weight, there will be no question about where the glory belongs. It won't be your doing. It won't be your timeline. It won't be your strategy. It will be God completely, unmistakably, undeniably God. And you will look back on this season, this tired, quiet, trembling season, and you will thank Him for not giving you what you thought you needed, because He gave you something far greater, Him. You may be tired, but you are not alone. You may feel weak, but the power of God is perfected in that weakness. You may be waiting, but the weight of that weight is pressing down gold inside of you, faith that doesn't flinch, courage that doesn't crack, and a fire that doesn't go out. This is the making of a vessel that can carry divine purpose. So don't fear the silence. Lean into it. Don't run from the waiting. Settle into it. Don't resist the process. Yield to it. God knows exactly how to bring you out. And when He does, it'll be better than you imagined, deeper than you prayed for, and greater than what you were settling for. But He cannot bless who you pretend to be. He blesses those who trust Him as they truly are. Tired, honest, broken, surrendered. The world tells you to hustle harder, to grind until you break, to push until something happens. But God says, "Come to me. Come to me when you're tired. Come to me when you're out of answers. Come to me when nothing is working. Come to me not as a last resort, but as your first response." God honors those who put Him above their own understanding, above their own strategy, above their own ambition. He will not let you be ashamed for trusting Him. He will not fail to reward the faith of those who wait on Him. His promises are not fragile, they are eternal. His hand is not weak, it is mighty. His plan is not failing, it is unfolding. And right now, even now, He is whispering into your weary soul, "Hold on. I am working. I am weaving. I am watching over you." The tears you cried in secret are known to God. The strength you gave when no one said thank you is remembered by God. The times you forgave, the times you held back your words, the times you chose peace over revenge, God saw them all, and He will reward you in His time, in His way. Let your tiredness bring you closer to God, not farther away. Let your fatigue become the fuel for a deeper reliance. Let your confusion become a call to press into the presence of the only one who truly knows the end from the beginning. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are exactly where God needs you to be to transform you into who He called you to become. And transformation is never painless, but it is always powerful. Trust that every step you take, even the ones you stumble through, are covered by the mercy of God. Every day you rise again, despite feeling empty, is proof that God is not done with you. You are still in His hand. You are still under His plan. You are still the object of His care. So lift your head not in pride, but in confidence. Speak to your soul and declare that the one who formed the heavens is also forming your destiny. You are not stuck, you are stationed. You are not forsaken, you are being fortified. You are not forgotten, you are being fashioned into something glorious. Pray, wait, trust. These are not passive suggestions. They are spiritual weapons. Use them, hold them, cling to them, and watch what God will do. Because when you place your tiredness in His hands, He gives you rest. When you place your weight in His timing, He gives you direction. And when you place your trust in His character, He gives you peace that surpasses all understanding. And that peace, that holy peace, is worth more than anything the world could ever offer. That is the peace of knowing that no matter what comes, you are in the hands of God. And when you are in the hands of God, no weapon formed against you shall prosper. No season of darkness can keep you buried. No amount of pain can disqualify your purpose, because God is not finished. God is moving. God is about to reveal what all of this pain was preparing you for. And when He does, it will be glorious. There is a kind of strength that is born only in the valley. Not the strength of muscles or pride, but the strength of surrender. The kind of strength that looks up to the heavens and says, God, I cannot carry this another day without you. And God honors that. He honors the one who is bowed low in exhaustion, yet refuses to give up. He honors the soul that says, I don't understand, but I will still trust you. That kind of faith moves the heavens. That kind of heart captures the attention of God. Many think that divine favor always looks like prosperity and ease. But there is a deeper favor that often comes dressed in difficulty. It's the favor being chosen to walk through trials so that your faith may shine brighter than gold. It's the favor being hidden while others are celebrated, so that when you are revealed, you stand on something solid. It's the favor being refined in silence, so that when you speak, your words carry weight, not just opinions, but power. God is not in a rush to showcase what He is still shaping. Do not despise the slow season. Do not curse the waiting, because God does not build shallow things. He takes His time with anything that carries eternal value. And you, beloved of God, are worth that time. Every delay is the divine hand at work. Every closed door is a redirection, not a rejection. Every silent moment is a holy pause that carries more meaning than the noise of 100 quick answers. You see, people may fail to recognize the value of your tears. They may not see the prayers you whisper in the dark. They may not notice the sacrifices you make behind the scenes. But God sees, God knows, God remembers. And when God repays, He repays in full, pressed down, shaken together, and overflowing in ways that no man can measure. His recompense is not limited to material gain. He repays with peace that guards your mind. He repays with favor that no system can block. He repays with purpose that turns past pain into present power. The world tells you to fix everything fast, patch it up, pretend, push through. But God says, bring it to me. Not the polished version. Bring me the real you. Bring me the weary you. Bring me the angry you. Bring me the confused, broken, uncertain, trembling you. That is the one I want. That is the one I can fill. That is the one I can use. Because God does not require strength. He gives it. He does not demand perfection. He perfects. He does not expect you to carry the burden. He invites you to lay it down. And when you lay it down, something begins to happen. Slowly, quietly, but unmistakably, God begins to trade your heaviness for His presence. He begins to exchange your despair for hope, your fear for courage, your tears for the oil of gladness. Not because the situation changed overnight, but because you changed in the middle of it. You are no longer trying to outrun the storm. You are learning to rest in the arms of the one who controls the wind and the wave. This is where true faith lives. not in the absence of questions, but in the presence of unwavering trust. Faith that says, even if I don't feel it, I believe God is here. Faith that says, even if I don't see the way, I trust God has one. Faith that declares, even if everything falls apart, God remains my anchor. That is the kind of trust that shakes the kingdom of darkness because it cannot be manipulated, it cannot be stolen, it cannot be crushed. It has been tested and proven. And what a testimony that becomes, not just to others, but to yourself. To be able to say, I walked through the fire and I did not burn. I passed through the flood and I was not swept away. Not because I was strong, but because God carried me. That is power. That is legacy. That is what transforms trials into triumph. You may look at your life and feel like you're going in circles. You may feel like nothing is progressing, like all your prayers have hit a wall. But trust this, God wastes nothing. What looks like delay is often a detour for your protection. What feels like a closed door may be God sealing off a path that leads to destruction. And what feels like obscurity is God building something so sacred within you that it cannot be rushed. When the time is right, what He has placed in you will come forth with fire, with favor, and with authority. But that authority is forged in the quiet places, in the still mornings when you choose prayer over panic, in the long nights when you worship through weeping, in the lonely roads where obedience costs you popularity. That is where your spirit is strengthened. That is where God breathes endurance into your lungs. That is where your heart learns to beat with the rhythm of His will. And when your soul is in tune with God's will, you no longer chase approval. You no longer live for applause. You are led by purpose, not pressure. You are moved by conviction, not convenience. And that is what makes you unshakable. The enemy may try to distract you, discourage you, even delay you, but he cannot destroy what God has built in surrender. So if you are tired, do not see it as a sign of weakness. See it as a call to draw nearer. Let the fatigue drive you to the source, not to despair. Let the tiredness remind you that you were never meant to carry this alone. God is inviting you deeper, not because you failed, but because you're ready for more. More of His wisdom, more of His peace, more of His strength. This is your moment to turn inward and upward, to say with unwavering resolve, God, I give you everything. Not just my success, but my struggle. Not just my gifts, but my grief. Not just my worship, but my weariness. All of it. Take it, shape it, use it. And when you pray like that, heaven hears. The silence shifts. The atmosphere begins to change. Not always around you, but always within you. Because the greatest miracle is not always external. It is internal. It's the miracle of joy and sorrow. The miracle of peace in the middle of chaos. The miracle of standing tall when the weight should have crushed you. That's what God does. He lifts, He builds, He restores. And He does it in such a way that when people look at your life, they won't say, look what they did. They'll say, surely God was with them. So keep praying, even when it feels dry. Keep waiting, even when it feels endless. Keep trusting, even when it feels risky. Because one moment in the presence of God can shift years of pain. One word from God can unlock doors you didn't even know existed. One move of His hand can settle every battle, silence every voice of doubt, and release every delayed blessing. And that moment is coming. Not because of who you are, but because of who God is. Not because you've earned it, but because He is faithful. He is just. He is merciful. and He is reaching for you now, not just to lift you out, but to bring you through, not just to change your situation, but to transform you in the middle of it. So rise even if you rise slowly, speak even if your voice shakes, hope even if your heart is still healing, because the God who sustains the stars knows your name, and He is not finished, not now, not ever. Keep your eyes on Him, keep your heart open to Him, keep your life surrendered before Him. For those who wait on God shall never be put to shame. So now I speak to the one who is weary, to the soul that has been holding on by a thread, to the heart that has prayed 1,000 times with tears soaking the pillow in the dark. This is not the end for you. This is not your defeat. This is the threshold of something greater. A life anchored not in circumstance, but in the eternal strength of God. You were never meant to walk this path in your own strength. You were created to walk with God, to lean on Him when the road is too heavy, to rest in Him when your soul can go no further. Let today be the day you stop pretending you're fine when your soul is cracking beneath the weight. Let this be the moment you stop carrying what you were never meant to carry alone. God is calling you not to do more, not to prove more, but to surrender, to bring the real you, the tired you, the confused you, the hurting, silent, frustrated, faithful, doubting, waiting you. All of it. God wants you. Not your performance, not your perfection, your heart. That as you offer your heart raw and honest, God will meet you there. Not always with immediate answers, but always with undeniable presence. He will breathe into your emptiness. He will speak into your silence. He will light a fire where the ashes have grown cold. You will rise again, not because of your own strength, but because the one who created you never left your side. Every ounce of strength you thought was gone, God will restore. Every moment of time you thought was wasted, God will redeem. So here is your call. Return to God, not with half-hearted words, but with full surrender. Examine your life. Ask yourself, have I been trying to control what only God can? Have I allowed fear to silence my faith? Have I stopped praying because I assume God stopped listening? Have I placed my trust in temporary things instead of the eternal presence of God? Let this be your awakening. Let this be the holy pause where you drop your burden and take hold of the hand of the one who has always been reaching for you. Renew your purpose, not by chasing what the world applauds, but by pursuing the path God has designed for your soul. You are not here by accident. You are not tired without reason. That weariness is sacred. It's the alarm that it's time to return, to realign, to rest in God again. You've tried doing it on your own. Now watch what happens when you fully trust the one who holds time, breath, and destiny in His hands. Do not leave this moment the same. Allow something within you to awaken and shift. Decide for faith instead of fear. Choose surrender rather than endless struggle. Choose quiet confidence instead of panic. Choose God above all else. And as you do, may your soul be infused with a strength not born of this earth. May your spirit stand with a peace that silences every storm. May your heart ignite again with a holy fire that no weariness, no silence, no delay can put out. Step forward now, not in doubt, but with assurance. Not trembling in fear, but steady in faith. Not leaning on your own wisdom, but resting fully in the one who knows the end from the beginning. For God knows, God sees, God has received every cry of your heart, and God will respond. Not always on your timeline, but always at the perfect moment. Let this be the threshold, your sacred yes, your divine release. And when the night closes in again, and it will, hold on to this truth. God is still with you. God is still leading you. God is still more than enough. He always has been, and He always will be.